What is this episode really trying to say? Let's talk track. I'm serious, you guys. Trigger warning. Also, this is a rant. Archer comes across a new alien species. Of course, he invites those unknown aliens to the Enterprise. But the aliens seem to be nice this time, so everyone is socializing and getting to know them. Trip is especially excited to meet their chief engineer and his wife, but he has questions about their Cogenitor. On the planet the aliens are from, there are 3 genders, not 2. The Cogenitors are a 3rd gender, and they're needed in order for the species to reproduce. This is totally normal for the aliens, but Trip has some reservations. They treat their Cogenitors like their pets, and they also pass them around to have more children, so they're definitely being sex trafficked. They aren't taught to read, they only come out to eat, there's no socialization, nothing. They are slaves. Trip goes to Phlox to talk about it, and Phlox tells him to keep an open mind. Meanwhile, T'Pol is yelling at Trip because she doesn't want first contact to go wrong. Archer's out in space floating around with the other alien. Trip seems to be the only one that is concerned that these aliens keep slaves and use them as biological incubators. Because of this, Trip tries to help the Cogenitor out in his own way, teaches them how to read, and they choose the name Charles. Trip sneaks Charles onto the Enterprise, shows them essentially what freedom could look like, and they want to stay. After Trip takes Charles back to their own ship and they're eventually caught by their enslavers, they sneak onto the Enterprise one more time to ask for asylum. By this point, Archer is back on the ship and he's pissed off at Trip for trying to help another person. After all, he and the captain became great friends out in space, and that's more important than moral violations. Archer eventually decides to give Charles back to their enslavers and Charles themselves, because they can't live with the outcome. When Archer hears that Charles deleted themselves, Archer calls Trip in to yell at Trip and blame him for the self-deletion. Archer tells Trip it's his fault Charles died, and I'm trying to understand how it's Trip's fault. Not only did Trip open up their eyes to the fact that they are an actual whole person, but they had the opportunity to help Charles, and Archer is the one that ultimately decided not to. Y'all, this episode disturbed me on such a deep level. It is insane to me that in the 2000s, it was written from the standpoint of it being the wrong thing to help an enslaved person. I thought they were going to say something good with this episode with the 3rd gender. Instead, they referred to the Cogenitor as it the entire episode. For clarification for you morons out there, they, them are the pronouns that we use to refer to human beings. It is a thing. I was willing to look past that because the language around speaking of the Cogenitor was essentially like, hey, it's a 3rd gender, it's not that big of a deal. Trip had an issue with them being enslaved. He didn't give a shit about the 3rd gender, so he took the smallest action that he thought he could take by teaching this enslaved person how to read. Who else was kept from reading in American history? How is this not gonna fucking trigger me? And after they're open to a world of books and learning and education, they want more of it. And that is specifically why enslaved peoples throughout the history of the entire world, including the United States of America with chattel slavery, have been kept from reading. So at the end, for Archer to blame Trip for this person themselves because Trip taught them how to read is essentially reinforcing the point that the happy slave would have stayed happy if they hadn't gotten smart. Seriously, you guys, I understand that a lot of you look at this and you're like, hey, it's the characters of a TV show and that's it. No, it is the writers. It is the writers. When I said episode 1 that it felt like it was not written for me as a Black woman, this is exactly what I am talking about. And this is not the first time that I've had this conversation with y'all about Enterprise. Enterprise's writers have some very deep biases. When they were writing this shit, they had very deep biases. Y'all, I'm gonna stop ranting. This shit pissed me off. Live long and prosper.